I firmly believe that finding balance in everything and anything usually holds the answer to our life's issues. Without stress, I am bored. With too much stress, I become burned out. And the opposite seems to happen with holiday, or without food, you starve. Too much food, you become unhealthy, and the same for exercise or sunlight, and I think you get the point. But on the subject of work-life balance, you might think that without enough work, you can't afford to live, and with too much work, you don't have time to live, so we should try and find work-life balance. But herein lies the overlooked problem that will be the subject of today's episode. Work-life balance is the wrong goal. Welcome to the Growth Mindset Podcast. I am Sam Webster Harris, and today I'm delighted to be sharing this mental model for life that was actually first brought to me by one of my favorite writers, Nat Eliason. I've been a big fan of his writing for a long time, and you can subscribe to his excellent newsletter called The Infinite Play on Substack. Lately on the show, we've been examining a lot of the common advice that seems to make sense out there, and examining why it may not be fully correct and what's on the other side of it. Well, today is no different. Most people that I know struggle to get work-life balance correct. But Nat Eliason argues that this is because we've set ourselves up to fail from the very beginning. Work-life balance suggests that there's a pivotal point between work and life, that these two forces oppose each other across this point. Work and life are forever separated, fighting to steal time from each other. Mo Gawdat suggests that we talk about our limited time on this earth in terms of our finite number of heartbeats. And this serves as a brilliant reminder that when we talk about time, just how scarce this resource of these moments are in our life. Do we spend our heartbeats in our work or in our life? Is a scary question that only makes us more frustrated at getting it wrong. So, confronted with this dilemma, we can seek answers and consume any media we can for a solution, using up more of our heartbeats. We may praise any new thought leader on the matter and we follow their ideas. But our quest to balance our seesawing priorities and emotions on this important topic is a never-ending journey. Seeking the master plan pushes us from one side of the scale to the other without acknowledging the bigger picture. Besides my thoughts that balance bears the answers to everything, I also believe that nothing is black and white, and there is always a unique tapestry pulling on different elements from often opposing sides all at once. To directly quote Nat for a while, sometimes we may stumble upon work-life balance, but the equilibrium never seems to last. We settle into the new routine as a well-oiled machine for a season, but then the wheels quickly start to come off. Sand piles high on the work plate, and our daily sine wave of caffeine and alcohol magnifies with it. After a midday cry in the bathroom or an "I'm totally never drinking again for real this time" weekend, we must admit that the balance is broken and return to the trough of knowledge for a new solution. There is no solution though. The language we use to define the problem made it impossible to solve. Well, this sets us up to dig into the heart of the matter at point, which is language. I gave the example of Mo's idea for talking about heartbeats, because that makes us much aware of our time in a very relatable and personal manner, rather than the more elusive concept of time which applies to the entire universe. Well, words are really important. You may have read the book Words That Work by Frank Luntz. It's a genuinely brilliant read that may alter just how you think about basically the entire world around you. Luntz is a consultant who helps politicians and organizations use language to shift public opinion on important matters about the world. His research has been focused on the subtleties of words that we use and how they can shift an entire public consensus on whether or not to support an issue. So pretty heavy impacting things. And you probably noticed obvious forms of this, such as Trump deliberately labeling his rivals, terms such as crooked Hillary or lying Ted or low energy Jeb. And just for the record, Frank didn't have any part of that. But the point is that words can really impact you, and they can be much more subtle than this. You probably use a term that Frank Luntz popularized, for example. He proposed the Bush administration change the use of the words global warming to the words climate change. At the time, it helped the climate catastrophe sound like less of a problem so that the Bush administration could avoid dealing with it entirely. In the end, it appears to have actually become a more accurate term. Just at the time, it was rather unhelpful in that it stopped us really thinking about it so badly or drastically. So changing public opinion and allowing politicians to not deal with it. And it's alarming to realize how manipulatable we are through slight changes in terminology. Luntz himself says that when we are in love, we are not rational, we are emotional. My job is to look for the words that trigger the emotions. We know that words and emotion together are the most powerful force known to mankind. So, when someone uses the right words on us, they can really change how we feel. Whether we click that article, support that cause, or change our own beliefs, words channel the way we think. And if words can affect much more than politics, they can certainly affect our mindsets. So my first lesson here is to be mindful of the effect that any language that you use or people use on you is examined. Words radically shift our view of the world, even in the places that matter most, which we think we may even have a good opinion on. But sometimes we haven't thought it through as much as we expect. The problem in the term work-life balance is the term balance itself. Please stay tuned for the great reveal of how to really get to the bottom of finding a more satisfying enjoyment of the rich tapestry that is your life, which does happen to include work and the Growth Mindset podcast, after the break. I am delighted to recommend my sponsor, Cozy Earth, whose bedding and loungewear I genuinely love. It's made from high quality viscose from bamboo, and it gets softer with every wash. It was voted as Oprah's favorite things several years in a row, and it's because their bed sheets are so damn incredible. Their collection also includes some divine loungewear for your home or travel. They have cute little tote bags to carry your gear anywhere. So whether you are exploring through a journey of personal growth or discovering new parts of the world, you can nestle up under starry skies with the softness of Cozy Earth's loungewear. So pack your bags, venture on and visit cozyearth.com today and use code GROWTH at checkout for an exclusive 35% off. And let Cozy Earth be your travel companion on the road to adventurous growth. cozyearth.com and use code GROWTH at checkout. So, back to examining work-life balance. As I already mentioned, balance implies that these two things must be balanceable, which requires them to be at odds with each other. Any addition or subtraction on one side automatically impacts the other side. You can't add on both sides without running out of time or heartbeats. More heartbeats being spent on work reduces the heartbeats allocated to life. However, Eliason highlights the fact that that's obviously absurd. Work is just another part of your life, like family, community, food, fitness, creativity, travel, fun, spirituality, etc. The question isn't how do you balance work and life, but how do you create a healthy relationship among work and the various other important areas of life? He suggests that we look at life's main priorities through a framework from another great thinker, Anthony Augustine. The main pillars are physical health, mental health, spirituality. I'm struggling to say spirituality lately. Creativity, relationships, family, travel, fun, finances, and finally, yes, work. So it's pretty obvious that it is not just work versus everything else in life. Work is one part of a large puzzle that we're trying to fit together nicely. Nat has a good example that if a parent says, my family is my life, you don't look at them like a weirdo or look down on them. You certainly don't think they have some form of unhealthy obsession that they can't break out of. Their children bring immense meaning to their life and you respect them for it. But if someone says, my work is my life, we treat it differently, which is again an issue with words and implied meaning. Because actually, if we examine a family-focused person, we could look at it as if that was concerning. If they were obsessive about their family and dropped all their other time allocations, such as hobbies, friends, they have no creative outlets, poor finances, poor health, we'd be kind of worried that they are overly focused on their family. And obviously it's the same for work. If you become obsessed with your job, you neglect any aspects of life outside it, and we become concerned. They lack balance. Instead, we should think that they lack integration of the different elements. So what does that mean? Our goal should not be to balance as such as make all of these different pieces of the puzzle support the other pieces as much as possible. If we view them as additive to each other as opposed to subtractive, we can actually get them working with each other instead of against each other. The point is that framing with the concept of integrating these priorities, we can ask much more helpful questions. Questions that I've often been asking you as listeners for ways to find better answers to your real problems. For example, many people see fitness as subtractive from enjoyment, but you should ask first if your physical health helps you to support and enjoy the rest of your life, and then if you can find ways to actually enjoy exercise as well. For myself, I love exercising alone by running or cycling or going to the gym. It's a chance to spend time with myself, learning things from podcasts and books, or just mulling things over and being creative with my own ideas. So it's not wasted time at all. Similarly, group sports is a great chance to be social. Playing games can integrate other buckets from your life like family and social time, and you might even be able to do some networking for part of your work life as well. Then on the subject of work, if you feel like work is adversarial to your life, you might genuinely want to consider ways to change it to make it support other areas. Friends at work can boost your social relationships and fun. And I found my big bug with work in the last few years was it took time for my ability to have adventure and travel or be creative. So I'm trying to incorporate all of these now by making adventure and travel my work, where I then tell creative stories about the challenges that I get up to. Of course, I need to find more ways to have relationships during working if I work alone, but I've started a group with friends who also run solo businesses where we check in on each other and our plans, and which just helps us find a way to feel understood and related to. And then I also use my freedom to visit other friends as much as possible, despite the fact my actual work itself is quite isolated. So Eliason suggests that the long-term enjoyment of activities actually depends on how many areas of your life are integrated at the same time in a meaningful way. If they don't directly combine, then maybe there's ways they can directly support each other. I often highlight the importance that fun is just so important for avoiding burnout and getting the most out of yourself. So finding fun activities that support your physical and mental health and creativity and relationships always tend to be more enjoyable in the long term, especially compared to a fun activity but costs you in physical, mental, or social health. So for example, watching TV alone in your room is never going to be as good for you as watching TV together. Personally, I don't find watching sports that interesting, but I actually don't mind hanging out with my mates if they want to go and watch it. Or if you're keen to watch the new Game of Thrones or the Lord of the Rings series, for example, I bet there's a lot of people out there also watching it who you're friends with. So try watching it together for a watch party and also share a meal. If you're struggling to spend time in an area, such as say time with family, maybe you could find ways to incorporate other things like fun and creativity or even work or fitness into it to make it something that you're more likely to do more often. Again, even finances. I have a WhatsApp group of my friends where we talk openly about money, and it genuinely helps add some social time because we add in some memes, we comment on things, and it's really educational, but it's fun and social. So you can always add stuff to make it better and more sustainable. This is also a reason why I think I just love group learning so much. So things like boot camps where there's a shared group of you all working on something is much more satisfying than studying and working alone. So if you're looking to learn a new skill, I'd really recommend joining some kind of group to learn something. This is probably one of the reasons why we look back so fondly on our time at school or university, for example. So bringing these things together, we find that bringing more of these life buckets together and finding ways to integrate them at once, the more full each activity in your life will tend to feel. Seeking ways to have fun and engage your community in creative ways that aren't perhaps hard on your finances will make it more enjoyable and more sustainable in the long term. We aren't seeking work-life balance as much as we're seeking a more integrated experience of all the components of our lives. Work is not to be balanced against everything else. It is one of many buckets in our life. For some of us, it might be the most important bucket if you're hardwired that way. But regardless, it's something that you should figure out how to best integrate with the other areas in your life in a healthy and supportive way. As I said earlier, nothing in life is truly black and white. It's always a unique tapestry pulling on different and multiple elements all at once. If you are experiencing some issues with balancing your priorities, I hope that this examination of the words that you use has given you some ideas of where to look and instead start integrating your priorities. And on a personal note, if your priorities happen to include supporting the Growth Mindset podcast, for example, well, you're most welcome to give me a 5-star rating or a casual comment on your podcast app. And with that, have a great week. If you want to enjoy your life, please start with enjoying today.
Hi, I'm Jessica Porter, and I'm a hypnotherapist, as well as a total relaxation nerd. If you're struggling to sleep at night, I'm here to help. Sleep Magic is my new podcast of relaxing hypnosis, created to help you doze off tonight. With my episodes every Wednesday, I'm going to make suggestions that help you relax really, really deeply. And hypnosis is not what you've seen on TV. There's no swinging pocket watch or clucking like a chicken. I promise. I'm just here to help you make friends with sleep again, so you can get the rest you deserve. So search Sleep Magic on your favorite podcast app, and I'll see you there.